Baby Alkong speaks English since he was 2 years old. How far would Hyun Bin go to shape his son's future? A bold, secretive plan is now out in the open, and it's more ambitious than anyone imagined. Join Red Carpet Revealed as we dive deep into the world of little Alkong, and uncover the truth behind his astonishing early education. Appa, I love you. It wasn't just any sentence, it was the exact moment the world of one of Korea's most private power couples, Hyun Bin and Son Ye-jin, shifted forever. Those four little English words, softly spoken by a tiny voice barely tall enough to reach the kitchen counter, would mark the beginning of a revelation the public never expected. For years, the couple has guarded their personal life with the kind of tight security reserved for royalty. But what happens when their son, baby Alkong, unintentionally becomes the star of a story no one saw coming? This is the emotional, gripping journey behind the headlines, where parental dreams, whispered ambitions, and a child's innocent brilliance intersect. A home hidden from the world. Tucked away in a serene luxury neighborhood just outside Seoul, the Bin family has done everything possible to give their son a normal childhood. No camera flashes, no media appearances, just a quiet life, gardens, playtime, and bedtime stories. But behind those closed doors, something extraordinary was unfolding. Son Ye-jin, always elegant yet fiercely devoted as a mother, had quietly taken on a mission, to introduce her son to the world through language. Not through stardom, not through fame, but through knowledge. I don't want him to feel limited, she once confided to a close friend. The world is so much bigger than we think, and I want him to walk into it fearlessly. That dream began with one simple act, speaking to Alkong in English every morning. The first spark, a mother's whisper. Sources close to the couple describe a quiet routine that's been in place since Alkong turned 1. Each morning, Son Ye-jin would take her son into the sun-drenched study and read to him from a small collection of English storybooks, classics like Goodnight Moon, Brown Bear, and The Very Hungry Caterpillar. At first, it was playful. He'd point at pictures, laugh at animal sounds, mimic silly expressions. But then something shifted. By the time Alkong reached 20 months, he was repeating words with startling clarity. Apple, thank you. Mommy. And then, the sentence that made Son Ye-jin freeze. I love you, Mommy. She told no one, not even Hyun Bin. At first, I wasn't sure if it was just mimicry, she later confessed in a private note to a friend. I didn't want to hope too much. Hyun Bin's moment of shock. It happened one chilly February evening. Hyun Bin had just returned from a long day on set. Exhausted, barely out of his overcoat, he dropped onto the living room sofa. Alkong, in his dinosaur pajamas, toddled up to him and climbed into his lap. Then, with a wide smile, he placed his tiny hands on Hyun Bin's cheeks and said, Appa, I love you. Silence. Time stood still. Hyun Bin, caught completely off guard, could only blink. What did you say? He asked, slowly. Alkong repeated it, this time louder. Clearer. I love you. In English. The normally stoic actor, who's played everything from icy detectives to wounded lovers, felt his eyes sting. It was the most beautiful surprise of my life, he later told his manager. And I knew then. My son was something truly special. The secret that couldn't stay hidden. The weeks that followed, Son Ye-jin finally opened up to her husband about the quiet routine, the books, the whispered words during morning snuggles. Hyun Bin listened in stunned silence. And then, as only a father could, he smiled with pride and said, let's give him the world. From that moment, the couple made a bold decision, a plan that would soon involve private tutors, education experts, and even international consultants. It would never know, of course. Not yet. But everything was about to change. An education fit for a global citizen. By the time Alkong was 2 years and 3 months old, he was able to hold short conversations in English, things like I want milk or let's play outside. His pronunciation? Shockingly accurate. His curiosity? Endless. Hyun Bin, fascinated, insisted on observing some of his son's lessons. According to a family insider, he was left speechless by what he saw. He's not just repeating, Hyun Bin told his longtime stylist. He understands, he listens, he processes, even asks questions. In English. That realization led to the next bold step. couple discreetly hired a bilingual early education specialist from New York. Someone who had worked with children of foreign diplomats and global executives. Her sole task? To guide Alkong's language acquisition without pushing him too hard, and to nurture his natural curiosity. But even she was stunned. Children this age rarely show that level of emotional intelligence in a second language, the tutor reportedly said. This boy. He's different. Behind closed doors, Sun Yijin's private journal. A rare glimpse into the star's private thoughts. A leaked entry from Sun Yijin's handwritten journal revealed her deepest hopes. The world is loud, harsh, and filled with expectations. I only want him to be kind, curious, and brave. I speak to him in English not so he can impress others. So he can speak to anyone, anywhere, and feel connected, not alone. It's this sentiment that's driving everything they do. Not just language, not just education, but something deeper. Longing for connection, a wish for their son to be more than just the son of two famous people. For someone as private and grounded as Hyun Bin, fatherhood had already been life-changing. But this was the moment he realized he wasn't just raising a child. He was shaping a future. He later confided in a close friend that he couldn't shake the image of Alkong's eyes, bright, determined, and full of unspoken questions. Knew then, he said, that we had to be brave. We couldn't just give him a name, we had to give him the world. And that is precisely what he and Sun Yijin have set out to do. Behind their mansion's high gates and soundproofed walls, a quiet revolution was taking place. The couple, known for their elegance and discretion, and carefully designing a future for Alkong that few even dared to imagine. It started with a conversation between the two management agencies. No nannies. Just two parents, sitting at their kitchen table, asking each other the most important question: what kind of world do we want our son to grow up in? The answer was clear to both: a world where he would not be limited by borders, language, or the weight of legacy. The first phase of their plan began with deep immersion, not just in English, but in multiple languages. They hired early childhood experts, anonymously and discreetly, each of whom signed strict non-disclosure agreements. The goal wasn't to turn Alkong into a prodigy, it was to gently open doors for him, to show him that the world wasn't just Korea, wasn't just what the camera captured. It was vast, diverse, and full of stories waiting to be explored. By age 2.5, Alkong could confidently say phrases like "let's go to the park," or "where is my blue car?" in English, and his comprehension was startling even to his instructors. But Hyun Bin and Sun Yijin didn't push. They celebrated every word, every question, every moment of curiosity. Inside their home, one room was quietly transformed into what insiders now call the Discovery Room. It wasn't a traditional playroom, it was a child's gateway to the world. There were bookshelves lined with storybooks from over 20 countries, maps drawn in watercolor, flashcards in English, Korean, and even French. Every week, Alkong would travel to a new country. When it was India, Sun Yijin cooked mild curry and taught him to say namaste. When it was France, Hyun Bin would try, often clumsily, to read French children's poems and help build a cardboard Eiffel Tower. These were not lessons. They were adventures, and more than that, were memories, the kind that children carry deep into adulthood. Language was only the beginning. The couple started researching the world's top global curriculums and international schools, even though Alkong was still years away from enrollment. According to sources close to the family, considered schools in Canada, Switzerland, and Singapore, not because they planned to permanently relocate, but because they wanted their son to taste life beyond Korea. Began formulating a plan to split their time seasonally, ensuring Alkong could experience multiple cultures during his formative years. One particularly ambitious option they explored was creating a private micro-school within Seoul, one that followed a blended international curriculum, taught by a small team of hand-picked global educators. The idea was simple: education without exposure, growth without media interference. Their dream wasn't for Alkong to be known, their dream was for him to be free. And yet, despite the detailed planning, both Hyun Bin and Sun Yijin were constantly aware of the one thing they couldn't control: the world's gaze. Fame, after all, does not come with an off switch. While the couple has done everything possible to shield their son, the pressure of public interest is always there. Just beyond the walls, Sun Yee-jin, in particular, felt the emotional weight of this double life. There were days, especially early in motherhood, when she questioned whether she could ever be just mom to her child. She feared that one day, Alkong would Google her name and see red carpets, crying scenes, love stories that were not real. Would he be confused? Would he understand that the woman who knelt beside him every night, singing lullabies in broken English, is not the same woman the world screamed for? But slowly, through everyday gestures and unconditional love, she found peace. To Alkong, she wasn't a movie star. She was the one who made morning pancakes shaped like animals. She was the one who kissed every bruise, who built castles out of cushions. She was just mom. Hyun, too, has undergone a quiet transformation. Known for his composed, sometimes distant persona in the public eye, those close to him now describe a man utterly consumed by fatherhood. He reads every parenting book he can find, especially those focused on raising bilingual or third culture children. He has reportedly started journaling his thoughts as a father, intending to one day hand them over to Alkong as a private record of love and hope. There's also been speculation that the couple may introduce Alkong public in a carefully controlled setting later this year. Some insiders hint at a UNICEF event in Seoul, where Sun Yee-jin is an ambassador. If true, it would mark the first and only time the world would officially see the child whose first words in English are still being whispered across fan forums. But for now, the couple remains silent. No photos, no confirmation, just a soft "we're grateful" whenever asked about their family. Yet, the curiosity surrounding baby Alkong has never been greater. Fan communities have dubbed him the genius baby. Those closest to the couple reject that title. He's not a project. He's not a phenomenon. He's a child, one with dreams, fears, and a world to discover at his own pace. Will he one day become an actor like his parents? Hyun and Sun Yee-jin hope not, unless it's truly his own passion. They've made it clear in private that they would prefer Alkong live a quieter life. But if he chooses the stage, they'll support him. Fully. Bravely. But only if he walks toward it with joy, not obligation. As for what the future holds, no one can say. What is certain is that this little boy, who once surprised his father with 4 simple English words, has already rewritten what it means to grow up as a child of fame. He is not being raised in the shadow of his parents' legacy, but in the light of their love. He is not being told who to be, but being asked every day, gently, with patience, who do you want to become? Perhaps, one day, he will speak to the world in fluent English, Korean, or even French, not as the son of stars, as a voice all his own. Perhaps he will choose a path far from cameras, closer to nature, or books, or medicine. Whatever he chooses, one thing is certain, he will not walk alone. He will carry with him the hands that held him steady through his first steps, the voices that read him bedtime stories in 2 languages, and the hearts of 2 parents who dared to dream of a world bigger than fame. And maybe, just maybe, it's the most extraordinary story of all, written by Red Carpet